stuff. Today, our show is going to be about nature versus nurture. Um,
Biology
it's a four.
or environment?
It'll be a four-part series. We'll break down certain um, life things and situations where people question: is it natural for things to happen, or is it environment and other situations that cause these things to happen to people? So today, we're going to deal with homosexuality, nature versus nurture. Are people born gay? Is it natural to be homosexual? Is there any science that proves that there's a difference between homosexuals and heterosexuals? Spiritually, how our opinions and what we've studied and findings, along with references for these findings. One thing I pride ourselves on is anything that you hear us say, we beg you to look it up. Please go look it up. We actually will give you ways to look it up or what to look up or, references to that. I'm going to let Lee take over because I need to drink some water right now.
So what we want to deal with is nature versus nurture, right? And we know that there are many factors. Some people say you can't be born gay. But is that really the case when lately they've been, doing groundbreaking science and discovering many differences in homosexual males versus heterosexual males? And I want to go into some of those differences. Like, for one, we have 19 genetic variations in a region on the X chromosome in men that were linked to whether they would be a heterosexual or homosexual. In 1995, a region on chromosome 8 was identified. In the new findings, individual genes have been identified that many influence how sexual orientation develops in boys and men, both in womb and during life. So what that says is basically they have found a region on the chromosome that is abnormal in homosexuals. And they've found that it can stem from the womb. Now we also have the hypothalamus gland. The part of the hypothalamus, which is INAH3, was more than twice as large in heterosexual men.
One question. I'm sorry. I have a question for people who might not know the hypothalamus gland. Where is the hypothalamus gland?
The hypothalamus gland is in the brain. So what I wanted to get into was the fact that it was twice as large in heterosexual men versus women and homosexuals, which said to me that homosexuals, it seems, were born with female brain or similar to a female brain. Then we also have that play along in it too. Now, there's also been a lot of evidence to that point to the fact that many homosexuals were molested in their early childhood, raped in their early childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So we have.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Repeat the question again, please.
Okay.
I said, what do you think about nature versus nurture? What I just read to you, the factors that they're coming out with, the science that they're coming out with to distinguish heterosexual and homosexual males through certain brain functions, chromosome anomalies, versus also a lot of the psychological studies that prove that more like 85% of homosexuals were molested or raped in early childhood.
No,
or they have issues with their dad or with their mom.
Mhm.
Well,
what do you think about that?
Well, it's my belief that a traumatic, unfortunate event happened in his life, which caused him to like the female, but not like the female. You know, but he won't necessarily date her. due to a unforeseen experience that he had. But I believe that they can always convert back if they meet that right female. They'll be okay.
Okay, so here's what I want to say, right? Because when you're dealing with brain, that's not really the way it works. Like in science, right? A pedophile cannot control the fact that they're attracted to children. I just want you to know that their prefrontal cortex is damaged. That does not work that way, and the wiring is different. The same way a normal heterosexual person is wired to like the opposite sex, right? And they're also wired to like, usually within their age range, and somebody beyond puberty. But with a child molester, right, they are wired to like children in that way. So the same way you see a woman and your brain sends signals to your penis and you might get an erection, it's the same way they brain sends signals when they see children. So when you see a child, your automatic response is to nurture. You might even throw on a different voice. You hi, how are you? But with a pedophile, when they see a child, nurture does not come out. What happens is that triggers the sexual part of their brain. So the same thing with homosexuals.
Wow.
So what ends up happening when you think that if you ask, say you ask a male homosexual to have sex with a woman, that's the equivalent of asking you as a heterosexual male to have sex with a man.
Right.
That would not make you can't. It's not. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
When it comes to the mommy and daddy issues, usually males revere more to when the issue is with the father, they attach more to the feminine in their life, which is their mother, so much that they want to identify with the love that they felt from that individual. So that's where I might not have, unless we can do a study to see and test the chromosome to see if there is an abnormality there. That's where you have to wonder, was this person born gay or was it the situation with the parent that made them want to identify with the parent who showed the most love?
So excuse me. So you don't think it could have been a traumatic event that happened?
No, I know it could. I know for a fact that it can also
a traumatic event.
It can also be that, but the thing is, I don't want us to be quick to be dismissive and say you're not born that way because there's evidence that proves otherwise for certain homosexuals, but not all. And then there's certain that prove that it's psychological, that they've been through things. But you have those who had a pretty decent life and have been like that since their parents will tell. They've been like that since they were 4 or 5. Because you also know we have something called epigenetics, which is things that you're born with. These anomalies, sometimes stemming from your parents. Like your father might be bisexual,
but you don't know.
You don't know that.
How do you know? And you're wondering, why am I attracted to women? And your mother's straight, your father's straight, you were born with two. It's like, I don't know why I like women, but you don't know that your father's bisexual.
Exactly.
And he gave you that trait along with needing to wear glasses and crooked teeth.
Right.
These things are passed along. You act just like your father. You walk like your father. You have a voice like your father. You know what? You're kind like your mother. So if all these other things can be passed along, oh, you're just like this. Uncle Ray Ray was like that too. So who's to say that homosexuality can't be the same way? It means there has to be. It has to be the equivalent somewhere. I mean, it's so many different scenarios that can be played out with this, because I think that with homosexuality, I'm comfortable to say I'm comfortable saying this is no longer nature versus nurture. It's either, is it nature or nurture?
Right.
This would have to be or. They would have to take out the verses. because it's not.
Right.
Because science is saying people are born gay. And psychology has proven that traumatic experiences can cause homosexuality.
And let's not also forget that we also have environmental factors, but it goes into the nature because we're dealing with pesticides and things of that nature that are sprayed on foods, like atrazine, which a scientist named Tyrone Hayes discovered turned male frogs into female frogs. And this is being sprayed on all of our crops, 85% of the crops. It's a herbicide that is filled with estrogen. And men, we all have certain levels of estrogen and testosterone in our bodies. For a male, he's always supposed to have more testosterone. For a female, she's always supposed to have more estrogen. So when we start to eat foods, like say if you're a man and you start eating soy-based products and you start developing breasts, that's because soy has large amounts of, it's structurally formed like estrogen and performs like estrogen. Is similar in the body. So now it's causing your body to produce large amounts of estrogen and lowering your testosterone, which basically testosterone blocks and inhibits breast growth. So that's why you see some of these men with breasts. And also lavender and tea tree oils boost estrogen. They too boost that and grow breast.
I'm glad I didn't know. I did not know. So, well, it's just that simple. I was going to ask a stupid question because the stupid question is answered. Okay, that's it. Tea tree oil?
Tea tree oils, yes. There's a few products that men should stay away, but those are the main three because they really boost the estrogen levels like sky high, so you really want to stay away from that. Just like females might want to stay away from certain things that produce lots of testosterone, and especially when we're pregnant, because this is how we're influencing our child before it even comes out.
Okay,
like
so
we
literally,
we're more than a womb. Like we're literally so connected to that child that even stress is passed down genetically. The brain is forming in this tiny human. You know, everything is forming, so you have to be careful with what you take into your body mentally and physically because it will affect. Like the epigenetics is the study of environment on genes. And basically they're telling you that they've studied people and found out if they go through certain things, they can remap their genetic code for the worse or for the better and then pass that down. Kind of like the Bible with every 7 generations you're cursed for that long.
Right.
Until y'all get that out of your system, out of your genetic patterns.
But I have a question. So I kind of got to back up some, and then I want to back up and then fast forward if that's okay.
It's okay.
So how do you know, like, how would you know, how would a person know, okay, my estrogen is high? Like, so what kind of symptoms or, you know, what would you look for to see if your estrogen or testosterone is off? Like,
well, I think with men, that would have to do with their sex drive. It would, their emotions, like if they feel like they're a little bit more emotional than normal, that would be a large amount of estrogen. Things I think men should take blood tests regularly, at least once a year, to make sure everything is functioning, men and women, correctly. Because you won't, like sometimes some guys just think that they got like, you know, fat nipples. Oh, my nipples are fat. My brother used to be like that. And then as we got older, that changed. So I guess as we got older, he took some things out the diet. That's like almonds. You know, 95% of the almonds is being sprayed with atrazine. So a person that eats a lot of almonds is going to have a high estrogen level.
Okay. Now, as a woman, I know that we talked about this before. I know that we can boost our estrogen levels and make ourselves act creepy by what we eat and, you know, things like that, right?
Yes.
Now, excuse me, I'm a little confused now because they told us in Men's Health, they said that men should eat, they said almonds, They said pistachios, like daily.
Well, almonds is not the problem, Chip. The problem is the atrazine that's being sprayed on the crops.
What's the purpose
So when
of that?
you have a herbicide that's being sprayed on the crops, that is basically changing male frogs into females because it has certain components in it that boost the estrogen and totally obliterate testosterone. So it's not necessarily the almond, it's what's sprayed on the almond, what's being grown in the almond. This is why people have a problem with GMOs, genetically modified organisms. This is the problem. And I personally feel like it's an attack by the government. I also feel like this because, I mean, the government has sterilized blacks for a long time. White people might have a hard time believing this, but blacks should not. Because the government has been sterilizing people without their permission for the longest.
Can I interject one thing?
Yes,
The father of OBG, of gynecology, he did experiments on black women. They just took down his freaking statue because he mutilated black women experimenting. And he killed a bunch of them. He was a freaking serial killer.
But
That's
let's
what
talk about
was.
all the way through the 90s in Mississippi and certain states. They were still forcing black girls to get abortions and keeping them, actually giving them hysterectomies.
Yes.
Forcing it.
They were forcing
all the way through the 80s. So you have to know the history. And so sometimes I say this because white people have a hard time to believe chemtrails are real, even though they can look up at any time and see them spraying those things.
And
what do you
also,
think is in that?
I wanted to interject to white people that might not believe that also. I told you earlier, I remember when crystal meth first came out, they put it in, it was a city in California, and they were doing a study on how crystal meth made the men have homosexual tendencies that never had them before. So they experiment on people all the time with stuff.
Right. All the time. Your water supply, they experiment. There's been cases in the 80s and the early 90s of radiated milk going straight to certain ghettos on purpose because this is the way they want to see how it affects you. A lot of people don't even know it's like Ebola. If you research Ebola and how Ebola works through the dermis, right? And the dermis is skin. So the Ebola attaches itself to eumelanin. Why eumelanin? Eumelanin, we all have melanin. But what causes the browns and black pigment is called eumelanin. And the pink and peach pigment, that is, who laughed? That's pheomelanin. So when you look at that and you really see why everybody black that had Ebola died, in case you haven't realized that, but the white doctors and them, they survived. So these are all just, I would say, ethnic cleansing and tests, but it's not always just for one race. Sometimes the elite has a way of keeping the numbers down.
I was going to ask you, do you think that they're doing these experiments because, like we said, it even happened in California with the crystal meth, which we know was predominantly a white drug. When the crystal meth came out, it was in rural white towns,
neighborhoods, right?
And in California, it was big in the gay. It's still actually now very big in the gay community. Crystal meth is very humongous amongst the gay community. I'm not saying all gay people. Disclaimer: all gay people do not do crystal meth. No. But that's a drug. Like, in the urban community, crack is rampant. Right now in the suburban community, heroin is rampant, and in the gay community, is a lot of crystal meth. So that's the point I was making. But
I thought it was a lot of pill popping going on, like ecstasy and stuff.
You know what? I noticed having a lot of gay friends and family members, they like happy drugs. They really don't like stuff.
Well, that's why I said
really
I thought it was a lot of pill popping, like ecstasy, not so much.
But
heroin.
I know that. I know in Atlanta. And I grew up in little mixed towns. So when I left the urban neighborhood, I went into little mixed towns, and they do a lot of crystal meth in the, That's the thing, meth, and like you said, ecstasy. It's the stuff that keeps you up and keeps you partying. You know, it's a party drug. Meth will keep you up for 3 days, and we know that.
Wow. And then I know it's a thing called, what is it, Xanax?
Oh, that stuff makes you go to sleep.
I've heard like so many different stories of everybody popping pills now, so I don't know. It's like I have a few homosexual cousins and stuff. One, I mean, I'm not saying homosexuals do drugs. One does and one doesn't. It's no different from a heterosexual in those areas. But I'm going to be honest, it's rare for me to see like a broke homosexual. And it makes me wonder if they work extra hard for the status because of the fact that they have a label.
I would think that would be a good observation. I would think so.
Because I mean, how many broke ones have you seen?
I'm thinking, and a lot of homosexuals are very you know what? I'm thinking that my sister's homosexual, and growing up extremely strict Christian, I believe that all homosexuals were going to hell. So I believe that homosexuality was not of the Lord. I believe that this is not okay, and that people were not born gay, that it was a demonic spirit. So until I got grown and one of my baby sisters, my kids got in the car. I like this story because she was my kid's babysitter. And my kids got in the car, and they told me that my sister was a librarian. But at the time, my sister was only like 17 or 18, and I knew comfortably she was not a librarian. Like, what? So I called her, and I said, why do the kids think you're a librarian? She said, oh, because I said I had to tell you I was a lesbian. But my kids were so little, she was saying, I'm going to tell Nikki. She was talking to her best friend at the time, saying, I'm going to tell Nikki I'm a lesbian. But my kids thought that she was saying librarian. So I said, oh, okay. Well, here's the deal. That sister is so by the book. Everything, by the book. You go to school, you get good grades, you graduate, you go to college, you don't have sex until you're married. She's by the book.
Was that sister ever molested?
No.
Okay.
That sister has always been attracted to women. She said she can look at a man, and I love her, and I wish she wasn't sick because I would have had her call in. She said she can look at a man and say aesthetically, he's handsome. She knows a handsome man, but she never has wanted to have sex with one.
Okay. It's like my cousin, one of my cousins. Now, I don't know if it's nature or nurture with her because her mother was really badly abused by the father. So when she got older, she's real butch. So I'm like, I'm asking her, well, when did you know that you like girls? And she was like, I don't know, I was always attracted to girls. And I'm like, you sure that didn't have anything to do with you being angry with your father and, feeling like men suck? You know how you feel when you watch abuse in your household. And she said that it didn't have anything to do with her father, that she always liked girls, and that she experimented with 2 guys in her life, and she hated it.
Well, I'm going to say
this. I
We
still don't know because sometimes people won't admit that that's what shaped them. So I still don't know.
But we also have to look at this. Humans are created by a divine feminine and a divine masculine, mother and father, right? So if we understand the characteristics of these 2 traits, we know that if I'm born a female, I'm naturally supposed to be more of the divine feminine version, correct?
Right.
So to protect, I'm half divine feminine, half divine masculine. So if the divine feminine part of me becomes damaged at a young age, by nature, my divine masculine part will take over because it's the protective part. I'm saying that to say it's interesting that your cousin, even though she chose to be gay, a lesbian, chose to be a butch lesbian. Like, instead of just being a lesbian that, I'm going to look like myself curl my hair and to wear dress
like I'm
and
going to
date women.
morph myself into
the male, the divine masculine, because I'm protecting something. So I probably would agree with your theory.
And then, listen, I have another butch cousin.
Okay.
But she has been raised with her mother and father. They've been married her entire life. She's never been molested. She's never even spent nights out, and she had a beautiful childhood, yet she still grew up. And about 17 is when she told them she always liked baggy clothes, but nobody paid that attention because there was a time baggy was in, you know.
So she was never, but was she ever girly?
She was never girly.
Never.
Like, she was the funny thing is she was dainty, but not girly. Like, she still liked to hang with the boys and everything. She just liked to be dressed nice, but not as a girl, like with boy clothes on.
Right, like, okay, because my god sister, I promise you, I used to braid her hair, and her mother would say, give her pink and yellow, and she used to look at me like, I hate both of y'all. Like, she wanted to kill us. So once she got older, she would say, can we do clear? Like, so it went from clear to black to blue. She never liked dresses. She never wanted frills. She never wanted pink. Yeah, no, she was never, ever a little girl. Ever. She was never a little girl. That's why I asked if she was ever a girl. She was like your cousin.
See, like with my husband, right, he believes that all homosexuals were molested, which is not really true. And he feels like that because he feels like some people have repressed memories, and maybe it happened when they were so young that they can't remember or things of that. But I really don't believe that because I've actually interacted, because I'm not a homophobe, so I will actually open up conversation with them because my first thing is always, when did you know that you was attracted to the opposite sex? How was your family life growing up? You know, because I'm trying to determine whether it was environmental factors or biological, because we know a lot of things are passed down, especially from like father to son. But in the case of like a homosexual male, they're saying that they're finding these genetic anomalies in the X chromosome, not necessarily the Y. So,
excuse me, Lee.
Right.
Lee, I think you say same sex. You said opposite sex.
Did I?
Yes.
Oh, my bad.
It's okay. But I have a question. So, is it possible for a person to? Because I think it's confusion. I truly don't believe. I mean, I don't have a problem with it if one likes the same, because that's their preference. But I think if one goes out on a date, they might be converted.
So if you went on a date with a male, would you be converted to homosexuality?
No.
Right.
I'm not going on no date. I'm not going on a date with a. I'm talking about
what
with a guy. They can go out with a woman.
What she's saying is biologically, the same way. I just asked you, if you went on a date with a male, would you be okay with that because that might make you homosexual? You said no. Biologically, that's because you're heterosexual. The way that your chromosome is set up, you're heterosexual. So science has proven that biologically they're going,
your brain
no.
The same. Mm-hmm. Your brain is not even built the same as a homosexual male, is what I'm telling you. Your hypothalamus, there's parts in your brain that is nowhere near the same as a homosexual.
They're not.
So what do you say towards that, Chip? The fact that their brain is actually different. Like, you knew males' brains are almost twice, like they're bigger than female brains, right? Doesn't mean they hold more information, just larger.
Mm-hmm.
So there's differences in the sexes when it comes to the brain. So what they're saying is that now that they're studying, there's also differences in the homosexual male versus the heterosexual male.
It's the same as when they find skeletal remains and they get the forensic people to remake the face, and they can tell by the skull structure if they were black or white. They can
right.
tell by the bone
because
structure.
of bone density.
So they know. Because we're different by that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now we might,
mm-hmm.
We might say souls don't have, but physically, there's a physical difference between a black person and a white person and an Asian person and a native. We all are shaped differently.
Mm-hmm. It's actually
Is there a
many.
caller on the line? Oh, I thought I heard something.
I don't know. If you are on the line, this is not yet, not as of yet. But this is Uncensored, Always Better on Black, every Monday and Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, with Lee and Nikki, 424-243-9617.
So what we're telling you, Chip, is there's no way that they can just go on a date with somebody or sleep with somebody, and it's like you being forced to have homosexual sex being a heterosexual male.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Now, this is where my problem is. Now I'm going to be mean. To some people, I'm going to be mean. They're going to think I'm mean. Bruce Jenner was not born a woman. So because you're transgender, I can only imagine the turmoil that it would be to feel like I'm trapped in the wrong body. I'm not upset about that. Where I have an issue is that man with a penis was voted Woman of the Year.
Right.
That offended me.
That was to be politically correct.
That's not politically correct. He had a dick.
It's not politically correct, but
for me to put on a wig and to throw in some fake boobs does not make you a woman. You don't produce estrogen naturally for the rest of your life. I mean, I'm gonna tell you like this: when it comes down to it, the transsexual is the most confused out of them all. And I'm just gonna put it out there. And the reason why I say that is because, all right, some of them are not homosexuals. Some transsexuals are not homosexual. You will have a man transform his entire body to female parts to date women.
Okay, hold on. I want to interject.
Go ahead.
I'm glad you said that.
Mm-hmm.
I watch a lot, of course, because I like to feed the brain. I like watching Intervention. Don't judge me. And what I'll do is I'll binge watch a lot. There was a transgender. Okay, so how does that go? He was a man, and then he became a woman. So is he a transgender male or a transgender female? How does that go? Well, he was a man that turned into a woman.
It's a transgender female. If he's male to female, then transgendered female.
Okay, so he was a transgendered female with a wife and son who loved his wife but wanted to be a woman. He didn't want to leave his wife. He didn't want to date men, none of that. He just wanted to be a girl. He ended up dying. I just found out the other day that he died because I was checking in on my intervention. I was feeding my intervention little fix. So, my intervention Jones, I'm sorry, I was getting my intervention fix. And I saw that he passed away, so that's sad. But he never wanted to leave his wife. He loved his wife. And he said, I don't want to lose my wife. He just wanted to be a woman. Now, Bruce Jenner said that he was that way, but I've been seeing him with men, so I don't know about that.
Right.
Whatever.
Because
bullshit.
He's a homosexual who also wanted to be a woman, but this is why I say it's very confusing when you start dealing with the trans community, because they're not just homosexual. You know what I mean? They actually want to be the opposite sex. And I wonder, is that something spiritual? Like, I believe in reincarnation, past lives. Was that because they were born several times female, and now in this now they don't feel comfortable? Their spirit feels something off in that body where they never settled into there.
I also believe in reincarnation. I believe when I was younger, my friends can attest to this. I always reference this. When I was a man, I would have beat you. When I was a man, I would have screwed you. When I was a man, I would have married you. I've been saying that ever since I was little. But it was a joke for me. Like, oh, my God, if I was a man, I would beat you. Like, when I was a man, I would have beat you. Here's the deal. I'm comfortable that I had to be a woman. I don't know how many times I've been a woman because I haven't gotten down the whole prissy, dainty thing. I'm girly, but I'm not prissy, and I'm damn sure not dainty. So I don't think I've done it a whole bunch, but I think I had to do it to learn to appreciate women because I love women. Like, I love women and men. I love my mother, my grandmother, my aunts. I had amazing women in my life, and I had amazing men also, you know. So I think I had to learn to appreciate what it was like to be a woman, a mother. I never wanted a lot of kids, but I have 5 naturally and then 8 altogether, you know. So it's interesting that and you know, I've told you previously, I had to do this girl thing again to try to understand it and appreciate it because I hated it. You remember that I used to tell you I hate this girl thing. It's stupid. Girls are dumb.
I do remember that. It does make me wonder, though, at times. You know, a lot of that makes me wonder how much of it is nature, nurture, or spiritual, because the spirit realm exists. So sometimes I wonder, because with transsexuals, they're so confusing. You know, to put your body through that type of mutilation, you have to understand that.
I watched that surgery.
A male trans, right? Oh. That, like, they literally, like, the thing I wouldn't even explain because I don't want to turn Chip off and explain what they do to the penis and invert it and all of that. And the reality is they drill in a hole in your body, a hole that never existed. And in order to keep that hole for the rest of your life, you're going to have to put either a dildo, some type of cucumber, something formed as a penis in that hole, and you're going to have to sit it in there for 30 minutes a day to keep the hole open because that is just a wound. That's what that is, a wound. And it wants to close itself because it's not natural.
They have, body. So when a transgender female, did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
That's okay, so when the transgender female gets their surgery and they go home for the rest of their life, they have to insert something into that man-made vagina, which is technically so that it stays open. Because if not, it'll heal.
Right.
And close. So you
have to keep it open. And they also have to be on all types of beta blockers, different hormones for the rest of their life, because if they don't, then they'll revert back into a lot of the male characteristics. You know, they'll get their beards back and everything. If they already have fake breasts, it's probably going to stay. I read that. But, you know, everything else is going to revert back.
Why do a person want to go through... Oh, my God.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Look at mental health, because that's another thing to look at. Because why would you want to go through all of that?
That's crazy.
That's some pain. Like, in reality, if I felt like I was born in the wrong body, I still don't think I would put myself under the knife. So to go through that much pain.
I've never, as tomboyish as I am, I've always felt like maybe I'm an awkward girl. I've never felt like I was supposed to be a boy. I felt like I used to be a boy. I never felt like now I'm supposed to be a boy. The weird thing is my hair's cut short. You know, I'm tall and, you know, all that stuff. But big hands, big feet, blah, blah. But I've never wanted to be a man in my life ever. Never. Ever, ever, ever. I just felt like I was an awkward girl. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not as dainty as my friends. You know, I'm just not as pretty. I still like wearing beautiful clothes. I love jewelry and glittery shit and pretty stuff. But, you know, we're just different. I never wanted to be a guy. I don't want to be a guy.
But even if you want it to be, right, the thing I deal with is the psychology behind that, because obviously you're really lost. Because anybody who does surgery for their body, I don't care if it's like not, even when they're not transforming their sex organs and they're just enlarging them, it shows that you have a lot of body image issues. Because regardless, you should be spiritually sound in the body that you are in now.
The irony is, I feel something that's ironic for me now that you're mentioning that. I have an underbite. And that was something that I was teased relentlessly about. It was something I've always been embarrassed of. You know, it was a major to me my whole life. The older I get, the more it has become my friend. And I used to say all the time, I'm gonna get my mouth fixed when I get money. I'm gonna get my mouth fixed. I'm gonna get this underbite is gonna go. I promise you, I need to keep it. I'll get my teeth done. I will, because I like nice teeth. But I need them to work around my underbite. So I'm saying that because I'm comfortable with me, my underbite is me. It will make me look completely different.
You know they have a reverse surgery, and it's actually been going on quite a lot, but it's like not being spoken about. But any one of you can research this and do the reverse on transgender surgery and go look up how many. And there's one that's really advocating real hard for people to just go and get the psychological help, because what happened is even though he transformed
that turned into the woman that turned back into the man.
To the man, right? And because and then the thing is, when you want to revert back to your male parts, remember your penis will never grow back. That won't happen. So now what you're doing is the same thing a transgendered man, which is a female trying to turn into a man, does, which is now stretching the stomach, because that's what they do. They cut the stomach and they stretch it, and try to make it into a penis. So now you went from having a real penis, getting it chopped off, and now you're stretching your stomach to give yourself a fake penis because you found out that didn't make you happy either.
But this is what I want to know. I know we get sensation, like if I scratch the bottom of my stomach, that feels nice, but I don't think...
I'll be right back. Oh, my God.
They can't give the same sensation. Absolutely not. It's stomach tissue. It's skin.
Well, of course
not.
And
work?
even with the females, what they do is they take the stomach tissue, they stretch it, and they attach the clitoris, because the clitoris is where the feeling is. So they attach the clitoris to it. What they do is separate the nerves in the clitoris and attach it to that skin.
I'm not.
Yeah, well, see, that's what I'm saying. You might not want to know everything that they do, but it's intricate, and it's a lot of work that gets put into that. And it's not just a one surgery thing. It's not one surgical procedure. They have to go for many before it's actually complete.
I know.
And when a female changes into a male, she might have a tiny inch of a penis. It looks so funny. Like a lot of those videos that's being passed around on Facebook with those, and they like, what the hell is that? Those are actually transgendered males with those tiny, tiny, tiny penises, and then they have to keep going and getting them enlarged.
Well,
and they go and they get them enlarged. And another thing is they come with a pump, an air pump, because of course she doesn't have the blood flow to go to the penis and get it erect because she's not naturally a man. So she has to pump it hard.
Well, I beg to differ. All of them, most of them. Remember when Howard Stern had that little penis contest?
Right.
That was horrible.
I do remember that.
I thought some of that stuff was fake. There is no way.
You can have a male that's born with a penis that small, like an inch, but for the most part, most men are not. You know what I'm saying? Most men are not, and so a lot of times those are transgendered.
I know. Now the ones that we're seeing on the internet are the ones that look like the belly buttons. That stuff looks weird, and we're like, why does it look weird? So
that's just like a transgendered male cannot get naturally wet. They will always have to have lube and certain things because that's not a vagina. That is a womb. It's not built like a vagina. It doesn't have ovaries and all the certain things that.
So what do you? So when you have a person, we've both agreed that okay. So say we feel that if we had transgendered issues, which is I feel as if I'm trapped in the wrong body, I should have had the other version. That we would just have to live this one out and try again. Correct?
Mm.
You know, we got to live this out. I'm going to try that again. Because that, and if they are willing to, so this, I'm gonna do the Nikki Duckworth.
So before
what
you
if
do
it's
the Nikki
so
Duckworth,
torturous? What if it's so torturous in their brain, being in that body, that it has to be that they're willing to.
But this is what they say. That's what they say. But the thing is that that's no different than an anorexic. You have body issues.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have body issues.
That's a good point.
Because even if you were homosexual and you feel like I can't help that, what does that have to do with the body issue? Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my question is, now clearly you're seeing these people are going through these thought processes. The question that I asked tonight, and I hope some more callers call in here real soon, if they're having these issues within themselves, do you both feel that they could be productive citizens in society working in the corporate world? I mean, would you entrust
they can
them
work in the corporate
to work
world
for their company?
Okay, here's the thing, right? A serial killer can work for you, right? Does that not mean that he's going home in his basement and chopping someone up? Mental health, I mean, people get around that all day long. We go in to punch in the clock and do what we got to do and go home. That has nothing to do with your
I was on a boatload of. I was on 300 milligrams of Seroquel, 250 milligrams of Wellbutrin, 100 milligrams of Trazodone, and a milligram of Klonopin, and I was working.
Oh?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been on Paxil working, Zoloft. You have people that's taking Ativan every day just to walk in the building. These people don't have issues with other people. They have an issue with how I look. So that's like me having an issue with I don't like my underbite. I didn't like my underbite growing up. You know? So that doesn't mean that I couldn't work. That means that I didn't like looking in the mirror.
Right.
So of course.
So being that
so you have like body dysmorphic, you know.
Okay, so for these people who alter their bodies, what's some ways that they can stop these hate crimes from going on?
First of all, I think we have to start building a better understanding. Like you see how right now that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to basically educate the people that, yes, there is science proving that some people are born gay. Not only is there science, but if you really want to be observant, go look in nature. And I'm not talking about zoo enclosures. I'm talking about nature where these animals are free to be them. And when you look, you will see many homosexual acts.
Yep.
Sometimes you have to wonder if that's also nature's fail-safe to control population. Because, like I said, it's in nature. You can actually see animals do this.
And when people say that this is a new thing, I like when people say that. This is new. The perversion is new. No, it's not. It predates back to forever. Even the King James Bible. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
Even before the King James Bible.
Right. But even if you wanted to go to the Bible, it's all throughout that. And, I mean, wasn't a whole city destroyed? So it's just basically trying to tell you that, all in all, homosexuality has existed before television, so people can't say, well, it's the TV, and they keep putting it on the TV.
Okay. Wait. So it's okay. I'm gonna give you all the examples. You said it's the TV. No, it's demonic possession, Lee. That's it. They're possessed by a spirit. So we go by the religious beliefs. I can tell you by Christians, they feel that it's a spirit that possesses you and makes you want to do immoral acts. But this is my next question to you, Lee. Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
If I hate to, so is stud politically correct? Stud. Forget it. If a stud woman gets with a feminine male and she penetrates that male, is that a heterosexual relationship?
It's a heterosexual relationship, but it sure was a homosexual act.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because, of course, if she's female, he's male, that's hetero. But
right.
You can do things that's kind of dysfunctional in your bedroom, like sticking your boyfriend in his booty. That's kind of dysfunctional, you know.
But, no, all jokes aside, I think it's really sad that such a stigma is put upon people who prefer. This is how I feel about homosexuality. I don't care who is screwing who. I care about who I'm screwing.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And have a good night.
Unless you're screwing children, because I don't play pedophilia.
Unless you're screwing children, or unless you're like so. If when it comes to consensual relationships, I don't care who you're having sex with if I'm not having sex with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's your personal. I'm not, because I don't want someone to come in my bedroom and tell me what I can or cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't take that type of instruction, Will. You will not dictate that to me.
Right.
And I'm really going to hurt your feelings if you try to.
So let me ask you a question, and this is to both of you. What do you think about homosexuals and adoption?
I believe if they are capable of financially taking care of that child, that they should be given a chance. But it's going to be hard on the child because society is so cruel that they're going to get ridiculed. So that might lead to suicide.
Is society really cruel in 2018 towards homosexuals? It seems like heterosexuals are more under attack.
The truth is,
I'll be honest.
It's cruelty. It's cruelty on both sides, but men are supposed to like women. Men are supposed to like women. They're not supposed to like the same sex. That's crazy.
They're not supposed to because obviously that's shown in
the Bible. It says in the Bible, Adam and Eve, man for woman, woman for man.
I mean, let's be real here. Do we really need a book to tell us that? When we can clearly see the penis is made, like, just through observance, right? Like, let's just say we didn't know how to read. We were illiterate, and there was no books written. Do we really need a book to tell us that? How does procreation happen? Only one way, right? Male and female.
That's right.
And what is the anus? Is that really meant to be penetrated, or is that an out? Is that a way to expel waste?
That's for excrement.
So that was never a place to be played with sexually in the first place.
I don't know who made that up.
Right. But nasty men, I think, made that up. I think men made up a lot of nasty things when it comes to the bedroom, and I think females just follow suit because they wanted to keep men.